useful and great days, and it is my pleasure to give the floor to Cielo Morales, the Director of ILPES, to deliver the closing remarks. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Paveliza. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Raul. And thank you all. In the course of these 2.5 days of a very intensive meeting, we've heard the different delegations, different countries, our distinguished guests who have participated in the panels. We've heard them talk about capacity building and other areas that are important for sustainable development, about foresight, planning, to take on the strategic demands of the territories and to be able to develop plans and policies that will be supported by the budgetary system. We've also discussed, thanks to bilateral meetings with some of the authorities, that is so important. The technical capacity in these matters is so important, as well, the capacity to collaborate, articulate, coordinate, and cooperate. And that is that sufficient articulation between the different levels of the state and the different scales of the territory can affect the capacity of the state to implement these actions, as well as governance. Youth, young people were loud and clear when they said that they have to be present in the decision-making and implementation of such policy. They need to be actively involved in dialogues that will be binding and not merely consultative. And they want to play a role in the transformation of society. They want to be the present and the future, and not only the future. And this is how they express themselves. They want to have a voice in defining policies and the budgets that will bring them to fruition, so that they will be real and they will satisfy their diverse needs, because in spite of the fact that they are all labeled as young, as youth, they come from different realities. Some of them respond to an urban setting because they live in urban areas or rural areas. They belong to different ethnic communities. They have different purchasing power, training and education, among many other realities that intersect and cannot be addressed by a single policy. We could add that our young people, when they expressed everything that they want and how they want them to be taken into consideration within the public policy and planning, management, implementation of policy cycles, they should also be a fundamental part and be protagonist actor of the foresight processes of the country, the transformation of educational processes. And this intergenerational living together that was mentioned here, and that should be underscored by the respect, recognition, mutual recognition, and mutual respect. We have much to learn from these youth, and youth also have much to learn from those of us who have accumulated a lot of youth. That we've discussed about the future, and when we talk about foresight, this has permeated into the discussion in these 2.5 days. And the question that perhaps we still have to answer is, how can we imprint greater political weight on the future and govern it and transform it, not from a past perspective or from the context of the present, but considering the multiple possibilities in which it can evolve. This will allow us to continue discussing the how, because some have been stated, what is that we need? We need more growth. The region needs more growth, more productive development, greater and more diversified engines of growth. But how do we accomplish this? How do we go about it? That greater weight, political weight, of the future must start with a change of culture and mindset. This multiplicity of factors should be constructed in a participatory manner, so that it will truly be democratic, which will allow to convene, discuss, and jointly decide, as was mentioned by Georgie Mitchell in his comment to the publication that we presented to your consideration. On the other hand, it is necessary to consider that when the prospective exercises, I'm talking about this foresight, with its multiple futures are fostered by the state and are coordinated with the public with public tools are very powerful because they contribute to the governance of the state to articulate actions, interests, stakeholders, and aspirations, but most of all, actions to be materialized through these public policies. And truly, what we are looking for is to develop a reflection that will generate synergy with public administration and planning policy so that this foresight will be an additional task that will lead to our societies becoming more resilient to the changes that we face. Foresight is part of the strategic thinking, and it is at the service of planning and planning at the service of the territory. How do we accomplish this? Well, the proposal that you have among your documents is through flexible methodological uh, pathways because they offer the institutions different options and possibilities from based on their own capabilities, on their own institutional realities, so that they will respond to the specific circumstances in each country. Institutionalization in terms of foresight is of vital importance for to be a systematic and productive activity so that whatever is accomplished with respect to the future can be monitored to determine when changes have occurred within the reality of the institutional capacities, the democratizing character that is attributed to foresight because it is an articulator among stakeholders and actors and also realities. This democratizing nature is also applied to other subject matters, to the paradigm of open government that we discussed, the paradigm of the digital or e-government promoting transparency, citizen participation, accountability in public administration. And in the digital government, we have a very important tool to make available to citizens by providing timely quality services and the appropriate information in order to co-construct with the government potential solutions to the public issues that affect them. This paradigm forces us to leave behind our comfort zone and bring about a cultural change of the future, which entails a cultural change within digitization. Resistances that are found go through different stages when you are trying to digitize and you are trying to embrace this open government paradigm. Resistances are multiple and range from the fear that civil servants may have because they fear that they will become unemployed, that there will no longer be a role for them, that they have to rethink themselves, but it goes through retaining the talent of those who are part of the public administration. It goes through sharing power, and finally, it focuses on identifying those institutions that have become leaders in these processes of digital and open governments because it requires a governance model that is capable of implementing that. And sharing power and the resistance and sometimes the new ways of doing things also find echo in when implementing national territorial development plans. The challenges that these policies pose are multiple because the objective is to reduce inequalities among territories. True governance, articulation of policies requires, and this is how the panels discuss it, in addition to political will, a whole array of technical and regulatory tools to overcome those institutional structures sometimes restrict us significantly and the director for land use planning of the Dominican Republic clearly defined as structures that are led by chieftains. They are comfortable because they're familiar to us and allow us to maintain a certain level of control. However, we must be fully aware, and this is how it was concluded in the panels, that a style of sustainable development and a full democracy will not be accomplished while we have territories that have stayed behind in terms of their development. And this backwardness of the territories because they lack quality public services and dynamic, productive, and industrial activities, which are sustainable in terms of the environment, really are a limitation, and it will cause economic crisis, climate-related crisis, or many others. So it is important that this is how we discuss it, to know what are the vulnerables of the territories, to manage them and reduce the risk through long-term policies and public actions. Actions for post-disaster recovery should be comprehensive, should have a systemic approach. They cannot focus exclusively on the recovery of infrastructure, which is important, but they must place in the center, they must place people, communities in the center. This is what should be at the core of the actions of the state, distinguishing the impact that disasters have among the different groups, women, men, children, elderly, and to sensitize everybody in the population to break away with a vicious cycle of disaster, to build community resilience, climate resilience, and reconstruct new and not to reconstruct new risks. Authorities, friends, the culture of the future, the integration of youth in the decision-making process, open and digital government, the development of resilient territories are, but some of the elements that we've identified here in the conclusion requiring a systemic approach, a comprehensive approach, a long-term approach, were probably will develop through multiple scenarios in the future, and to place a multiplicity of stakeholders on board in order to achieve a renewed governance and a strengthened democracy. Planning, public administration, public management that resolves the issues of today with a future approach, generating trust and confidence, will lead to better governance. Indeed, given the regional agenda that the Dominican Republic has suggested and its different access in order to promote the networking, the strengthening of capacities, the construction of robust information systems, results-based management that and asks the countries to share best practices, all of which will be a step forward in this respect. So you can count on the assistance of ILPES and ICLAC to support you. And before closing my remarks, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude, deepest gratitude to Minister Paveliza, Vice Minister Luis Madera, and their team, the media, protocol, security, that have been so hospitable. Thank you so very much. I wanted to express my deepest gratitude to Gladys Volquez, who has worked very close with us in the organization of this meeting. Thank you so very much, Gladys, for your willingness, for your constant smile, for your kindness, for your warmth that characterizes you. And of course, the different teams. Raul, thank you so very much for always being, Raul Garcia Muchaca, for being supportive of ILPES, to always tell us, this is what you have been designed for, to respond to the country's demands. Thank you for reminding us of that constantly. To Luis, thank you, Luis. Luis Ñañez, who's always there supporting and assisting us. Luis Flores, who's moving around. We have a lot of Luises in our team. The conference team led by Margaritas, thank you so very much. To the media, to Marianela, who's always moving around, to Jose, and to my team from ILPES, Elena, Valeria, Alicia, Carlos, Luis, Alejandro, Pilar, Mauricio, Daniela, Alejandro. They've not been physically present, but who have contributed significantly from their offices. To our interns who have taken extraordinary notes in Santiago following each of the steps of this meeting. So thank you so very much to each and every one of you. And most of you, thank you who make this forum a reality and make it important and relevant. We must continue with it to work always thanks to the support of ICLAC and ILPES. So thank you all very, very much. And I forgot to mention the interpreters. Thank you so much to our interpreters. Thank you. Alejandro Morales. Thank you, interpreters, who are always there and who keep Wayne Henry with a very, very active participation. So thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you on behalf of the interpreters.
Before giving the floor to Pavel Isa, I would like to recognize your leadership. So let us give a round of applause to Cielo. Very well, then. To close this 19th meeting of the Regional Council of ILPES, I would like to give the floor to the Minister of Economic Affairs Planning and Planning of the Dominican Republic. Thank you very much, Luis Pedro Raúl. Thank you very much for having helped us in this process, colleagues from the region, colleagues from the Dominican Republic, and the Ministry of the Economy, Planning and Development of the Dominican Republic, colleagues from the United Nations system. I haven't been able to attend anything but the first session and this last session, but I have been kept informed of everything that has happened. And we can say that we have had a meeting of the council that has been extremely productive. I think that we leave with a work program that it will be very fruitful and bears great promise for the coming years, the 2 next years. We have an obligation vis-a-vis our people in order to improve their quality of life. And as the slogan says, leave no one behind. And for this purpose, we need to do 4 things on which ECLAC and the whole UN system have been insisting, as well as many governments and international players. We need to accelerate growth and productive transformation. Secondly, we need to encourage social and territorial equity, strengthening, among others, quality and coverage of public services, and giving the state the capacity to achieve it, highlighting capacity building of human resources as a fundamental element to accelerate growth and productive transformation. Thirdly, we need to encourage more environmental sustainability, and at the same time, we need to accelerate the green transition. And finally, we need to reduce risks and build up resilience vis-a-vis the effects of climate change. But all this won't happen automatically or won't happen just by chance. We need quality public policies that will lead our countries in those directions. Each country will have its own pathways and processes. Some of them will have different speeds, but we need to try to find synergies and what kind of transformations may support other kinds of transformations, which elements will support each other. And we have to identify the biggest problems and building good policies and a good planning that is at the center of good policies cannot be done without better data, more talent, and good quality human resources, and with the effective and true participation of the people and the interaction between the people and the state in order to set better public policies. I think that this is chapeau that should lead our work. It's been a great pleasure to have you here at the Dominican Republic. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation of the Dominican Republic to host this meeting. Hopefully, during the 2 coming years, we will achieve the results that we have proposed for ourselves. So a safe return to your countries and good afternoon.
Muchas gracias, presidente. Para concluir, le pediría que
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I will ask you to close formally the meeting. Thank you very much.